This is Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasquet, continuing 16 years on air and online, helping you succeed in buying, selling, and investing in property. The best real estate strategies out there just for you.
Welcome to Real Estate This Week. Hi again, I'm Stephen Gasquet, and I'm so glad you're here as we look at a big issue: first-time home buyers and affordability. When interest rates dropped, it definitely helped many first-time buyers qualify for a mortgage and afford the monthly payments. But that's not the whole story. So for that, let's examine first-time home buyer affordability with a mortgage expert. Joining us now is Holden Lewis, mortgage reporter and senior writer at the financial website NerdWallet. Holden, welcome to Real Estate This Week.
Hey, it's great to be back.
I am so glad you're here. And so, Holden, let's talk about the latest home buyer affordability report from NerdWallet, which was for the second quarter of 2025. Now, when you put out that report, you talked about high mortgage interest rates, rising prices, and a shortage of inventory, although inventory was improving. But things have changed, especially on the mortgage front. So, where do we stand now?
Mortgage rates are lower. I mean, when you look at May and June this year, both months, the average rate on the 30-year fixed rate mortgage was 6.82%. So, there you are. You're in the second quarter, 6.82%. Fast forward to September, last month of the third quarter, and the mortgage rate averaged 6.35%, almost a full percentage, almost half a percentage point. And so that definitely makes a difference in mortgage payments and home affordability.
And so for a buyer who would like to finish up the year by getting a home of their own, what do the changes mean to them and the mortgage they might need?
Well, the change means simply that you can afford to pay more for a house. It can kind of move you up just a few dollars, not a whole lot, but in your price range. I mean, let's talk about getting a $400,000 loan.
Okay.
Back in June, when the 30-year fixed average 6.82%, the principal and interest on that payment on that house was $2,613. In September, with the rate almost half a percentage point lower, that payment was $2,489. So that was a $124 a month savings. So people can either buy the house and they have that lower payment, or they might just say, hey, we can afford a $400,000 loan. Let's look at a little bit of a higher price range, and maybe we can afford a $410,000 loan. So it opens up possibilities for buyers, but that also, of course, opens up more possibilities for sellers. They're able to sell to a wider range of buyers, just as mortgage rates go down.
Absolutely. Good point, Holden. Plus, as we know, most home sellers, when they put their house on the market and it sells, they immediately buy their next home. So it's good for them too.
That's right. I mean, and let's talk about a phenomenon called mortgage rate lock-in. Here's what happened. Back in 2020 and 2021, a lot of people refinanced their mortgages to rates lower than 4%. Some people even got rates below 3%. So what's the effect of that? Well, the effect is now that mortgage rates are well above 6%, those homeowners are saying, oh man, I don't want to get rid of my 3.25% mortgage to get a 6.5% loan. I don't want to double my mortgage rate. I mean, that doesn't double your monthly payment, but it does make the payment a lot higher. And so what that means is, people are looking at this and they're saying, if I sell my house now with that really low monthly payment because I refinanced at the right time, if I buy a house even of the same in the same price range, my monthly payment's going to go way up. And so those people just say, okay, I would love to sell, but I just can't afford to. So I'm just going to sit on the house. I'm not going to put it up for sale. And the inventory of homes for sale is going to suffer because of that. And I think there's a couple of things happening. First of all, it's been 4 or 5 years, and a lot of folks are saying, all right, life is happening. My family is bigger. My family is smaller. I want to relocate for a better opportunity, a better job. And so they are listing their homes for sale despite higher mortgage rates. And then some people are just saying, oh, well, you know what? Now that mortgage rates are below 6.5%, okay, maybe I'll go ahead and sell. At least mortgage rates aren't 7%. And I can bite the bullet, find another house, and just hope that I can refinance later.
But there's one other factor, which is anyone who got one of those 3% mortgages who wants to sell now is probably sitting on a ton of equity. And so they'll be able to put down what, maybe 40, 50, 60% on their next house?
That's absolutely right. People have gained so much equity. Home prices, well, home values have risen about 50% in the last 5 years. And so, yes,
Yep.
let's say you bought a house for $300,000 a few years ago. Well, that house is probably worth $450,000 or more now. And so, yes, you end up with a lot of equity that you can put into the next house. And that's another reason that people, when they're kind of giving up and saying, all right, fine, I'll sell my house despite having a really, really sweet mortgage rate, they do comfort themselves by saying, hey, but at least I can cash out on that equity and I can put that toward the next house and then have a more affordable monthly payment just because I have such a huge amount that I can put down on that house.
That is great. Now, sticking with sellers for a minute, are they facing more competition now that more homes are coming on the market? I mean, when there were very few homes, they could just put up their for sale sign and bam, that place would sell right away. But what about now? We're hearing in many markets around America, more and more homes are coming up for sale.
That's right. Inventories have risen, especially in markets like in Texas and Florida, and you are actually seeing prices falling in some of those markets. I'm talking places like Austin, San Antonio, I believe, Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami. Prices are going down. Now, that's partly because of higher inventories. In Florida, there's another wrinkle, and that has to do with condominiums. There's a state law that basically says we don't want any more condominiums just falling down in the middle of the night. You condo associations have to maintain and upgrade your buildings, and the condo owners are being assessed huge assessments, and so it makes it hard to sell a condo. You're having to sell for a pretty low price just to entice someone to buy it. I mean, let me give you an example. Let's say you have a condo that's worth a few years ago it was worth like $300,000, and now you've had an assessment saying, "Hey, condo owner, to help pay for a new roof and maintain the building, we're going to assess you one-time assessment of $40,000." Well,
Whoa!
suddenly, buyers are saying, "Oh, well, I don't want to buy that for $300,000 and get stuck with a $40,000 bill. I'll buy it for $260,000," and that kind of thing is happening. And so you're seeing that condo prices are going down, and that's just kind of pulling the overall median home price down in Florida. So that's just kind of a wrinkle that's happening just in the Sunshine State.
Oh, that is very interesting, Holden. And now jumping back across the closing table to buyers now. They do have a couple of things in their favor. which they did not have a while ago. Mortgage interest rates have dropped, as we said, and also there are more homes on the market. It seems to me now their primary challenge is rising prices. What's your take?
There are multiple challenges for buyers. Prices have been rising in some markets, not all of them, and price increases are really slowing down. And I wouldn't be surprised that when you take the median price for when you take the median price for December this year nationwide, it might be lower than the median price in December last year. We might actually see a reversal of house prices. And that's for a couple of reasons. First of all, mortgage rates just stubbornly above 6%. And for most of the year, they've been above 6.5%. And also, there has been a shortage. So, yeah, you are seeing more houses on the market, but when you compare to, say, 2019, there's still a lot fewer houses on the market. So, buyers, they are facing those two headwinds: mortgage rates that are higher than they would really like them to be, inventories that are higher than they were a year ago, but still lower than they were in kind of normal times before COVID. And then you have another wrinkle too, and that is home insurance costs. Premiums have been going up quite a lot. Nationwide, the average home insurance premium is $2,110 a year. But in some markets, like in Oklahoma, for example, they're almost triple that. I mean, people are paying $500 a month for home insurance in Oklahoma. Some people are. And so, we're talking just middle class houses. So, that's another issue that buyers face. But kind of the bottom line is inventory is higher than it was a year ago. Buyers have more choice. And in some markets, sellers are having to compete with other sellers. And that is great news for buyers.
Absolutely. And so, sure, it's no walk in the park for buyers, but it is improving. So let me ask you this. Is this a good time to buy a house in the United States?
It is a good time if you're ready for it. And I guess that's my answer to that question all the time. But you know, are you settled in your life? Are you ready to own a place for a few years? Can you afford it? In that case, yes, it's a good time to buy a house. Um, should you wait for mortgage rates to go down? Maybe, just maybe.
The way you say that, Holden, maybe suggests there's also a maybe not on the way.
That is so true. So mortgage rates, they dropped pretty precipitously right after the government shutdown, about a fifth of a percentage point in one day. And we don't know if that's going to be a long-lasting decrease in mortgage rates. But when you look at the forecasts from Fannie Mae and the Mortgage Bankers Association, they're both predicting that mortgage rates will fall a little bit in the fourth quarter of the year. We're not talking a whole lot, maybe a tenth or 2/10 of a percentage point. But 2/10 of a percentage point, that can make a difference of like $100 a month on like a $400,000 house. And so, that's definitely worth considering.
Well, another question for buyers, of course, is if they're locked in at a mortgage that's like, say, 6.75 or 6.80, can they then take advantage of the lower mortgage interest rates?
All right, so that's kind of a complicated thing. So if someone has made an offer on a house and they apply for a mortgage and they've locked that loan and they're getting ready to close, and then mortgage rates have gone down, they might have to just apply with another lender to grab a lower mortgage rate. But it's always worth talking to the lender that they've been dealing with and say, hey, will you let me float down the rate to the current rate now that they've dropped? The lender has the opportunity to say yes or no. Some lenders might say, absolutely. To keep your business, sure. We'll let you, even though you locked a rate, we'll let you take today's rate. In other cases, they might say no. And then if in that instance, you might just have to scrap it, apply at a different lender. You might have to delay your closing, but that might be worth it if the seller doesn't balk.
I see. And so the same question we asked for buyers, now for sellers. Holden, considering all the market conditions that exist right now, is this a good time to sell your house?
If you need to sell your house today, it's a good time to sell the house and just be really, really careful about the price. If you don't need to sell right now, like if you're looking at saying, oh, I would really love to sell by like next spring, maybe you don't really need to hurry all that much, because maybe mortgage rates will fall. And if mortgage rates fall, then you will have more buyers who are capable of buying your home.
And so looking down the line, towards the end of 2025 and the beginning of 2026, are we going to see a more robust market, or will the traditional sleepy winter market take over?
I think mortgage rates are going to fall a little bit toward the end of the year. I agree with Fannie Mae and the Mortgage Bankers Association. And in that case, I think that you might see buyers just say, yeah, I'm going to take advantage of that, even during the slow time of year. And if sellers kind of get that news, you might find more sellers are willing to sell during the slow time of the year. So I just think that this winter might not be as sleepy as a typical winter, just mostly because mortgage rates will be lower than they were the year before, and home prices are really, really slowing down, and they might even be a little bit lower at the beginning of next year than they were at the beginning of this year.
I see. And Holden, I really want to thank you for joining us on the show today and telling us not only about the latest affordability report from NerdWallet, but also what the recent market changes have meant for buyers and sellers alike. Thank you, Holden.
It was my pleasure.
Ours too. Holden Lewis, mortgage reporter and senior writer at the financial website NerdWallet. Next time on Real Estate This Week, saving money on your energy bills as we head into winter. From doors and windows to insulation to lighting, we'll tell you how you can cut your utility bills winter, spring, summer, or fall. That's next on Real Estate This Week. And until then, I'm Stephen Gasquet, and thank you for listening.
A brand new episode of Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasquet drops every Thursday, everywhere. And you're invited to listen, subscribe, and follow us. Just look for Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasquet. The best real estate strategies out there, just for you.